Money is tight for a growing number of us. And so one nonprofit credit counseling group says it is actually seeing more financial stress among Missourians. So we have 5 things that you can do right now to lower your interest rates. And joining us now, I'm sorry, we've got Paul trying to get his batteries on. Joining us now is Thomas Nitchie with Money Management, and he's a financial educator. And really, you're going to help us walk through some of these steps because they're pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
I mean, ideally.
Yeah. Well, you hear the word debt and you automatically get a lot of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Because, all of us have been there at one point in our lives. In my 20s, I was certainly there.
Yeah.
Especially with student loans coming back online. So if you're carrying a lot of debt, there's some things you need to know to be able to reduce the interest rate so that more of your principal is going towards, more of your payments going towards principal instead of interest.
Sure. And so what do you think is causing the most financial stress? Is it inflation right now? What do you think is, especially for Missourians?
Yeah, we've had a prolonged period of inflation. Things have been more expensive. We have the student loans coming back online. Interest rates are up. There's just a lot of different factors that come into this, and it's very difficult when you're trying to achieve your financial goals to stay on track with those things when you are really struggling with those payments.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people are struggling too.
Yeah. So what about a little DIY method to help us out?
Yeah,
here?
so some folks just need to create a plan, right? That's what we really want to understand, create a budget, spending plan, and then list out your creditors by your interest rates from largest to smallest, or your balances from smallest to largest, whichever keeps you most motivated, but pay the most you can to either the highest interest rate or the lowest payment. Those are called the debt snowball or the debt avalanche methods, and then make minimum payments to the rest.
Yeah, I can't remember which one I did. I did the smallest payments first. What is that, the avalanche or is that the snowball?
That's the snowball.
Okay.
That's the snowball, yes.
Okay, yes, because I love that instant gratification. Of like saying, okay, oh, I paid off that $60 bill. Yeah.
You get further, yeah.
Okay, so you say one of the most successful ways to lower your APR is to just simply ask for it.
Ask, and
is it really that easy?
You shall receive, right? Like about 3/4 of people who ask their creditor for a lower interest rate receive it. And on average, they shave off 6 percentage points.
Wow.
So that's a huge difference over the duration of repayment. 6 percentage points when you're talking about a 20% interest rate, that can really help you go a long way. So it's really important to open up lines of communication with your creditors and have that conversation, especially if you're having a financial hardship, because most creditors have programs in place to help get you out of debt. They may even refer you to talk to a credit counselor if you're really overwhelmed.
Credit counselor. What about debt consolidation?
Sure. So the most common forms of debt consolidation are either a balance transfer or a debt consolidation loan. Now, obviously, the caveat here is that you still have to have pretty good credit to be able to get the new line of credit to consolidate those payments into one. But hopefully by doing that, you're getting a much lower interest rate. Some cards even do a 0% up to 2 years. And so if you're able to make that, divide the total balance by 24 and try to make that payment every month, and you can have it paid off completely debt-free. Or completely interest-free if you can make that payment every month.
Great stuff. Quick question on that. Does that go through another company? When you do a debt consolidation,
it's not that's exactly what you're doing. You're actually applying for a new line of credit and transferring that balance over to that new creditor at a lower interest rate, hopefully better terms. But again, that caveat there is that you have to have pretty good credit to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So there's some other options for people who don't have good credit. You can either work with your creditor directly, you can go through a nonprofit like MMI where we consolidate in what's called a debt management program, or you might do a debt settlement where if you have accounts that are already in collections, you've already fallen past due, you can work with you can do it on your own as well, but you could also work with a company to try to settle for less than what you owe.
It's tough though, isn't it? When you already have built up debt and then have a great credit score, those two things don't usually go together.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's true.
It's for sure. It's a real problem. If you find that you start to miss payments, most of your credit score is based on your payment history. So if you start to miss payments, it can be really damaging to your credit.
Yeah. I remember I did like some sort of debt management plan in my 20s, and I was really worried about it affecting my credit, but it helped me, when I was making $9.50 an hour charging my groceries at my first job. You can do, and one last question real quick, we're almost out of time. Debt settlement, is that a last resort, or what do you think?
It's kind of right before bankruptcy. It is really one of the last options because you typically have to be in collections in order to settle. In other words, when the creditor charges off that debt, they sell it for pennies on the dollar.
I see.
So then they're willing to settle for less than what you actually owe, usually about 50% of however much you owe. So you don't want to intentionally do it because it's hard on your credit. But if you've had a hardship, you've been unemployed, underemployed, you've gone through a divorce, separation, medical issue, you probably have some debts that have fallen past due. And if they're already past due, then by all means go ahead and settle it if it's already in collections, because at that point the damage is already done.
Yeah, the damage is done. Okay, and so where can people find you? Money management?
Yeah, it's moneymanagement.org is the best place to find us. We help with debt management programs. We can even do help with debt settlements in Missouri and Illinois.
Awesome.
Great
Okay,
job.
thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your
Absolutely.
time. I hope that
Anytime.
helps people because we know people are really struggling
It
to
does.
make ends meet.
Yeah.